So if you're someone who's new to professional photography or videography, or if you're someone who's moving away from the old DSLR cameras and you're thinking about switching into a new mirrorless system, perhaps you own like old DSLR Canon cameras, or you own one of the Nikon cameras and you're thinking about, switching system since you're going to be moving to a mirrorless system, this is the video for you. Now this is a video just to like pursue you into, switching over to Sony camera just because, I love Sony cameras or I'm getting paid for it. I am trying to get paid by, trying to become an ambassador, but they're not answering my emails, so I'm just giving them free promotion for no reason, pretty much. I'm just doing it because I do love the camera system, to be honest. But now let's get to the main reason why I think you should switch to Sony's mirrorless system over the Canon or Nikon system. And I'm saying this as of the making of this video. The reason why I have right now might change in the future, and it probably will change, but as of right now, Sony has way more lens selection, especially when it comes to the professional grade lenses that you're going to be using if you're going to be doing photography or videography professionally. These are the lenses you're going to need to buy. So this is the reason why I'm going with Sony. Now right here behind me, I have the trinity of lenses, which right here is the 70-28 2.8, 28-75 2.8, and the 70-180 2.8 lenses. Now, again, the focal lengths might sound a little weird, like besides you having the usual, 70-200, this is 70-180 millimeters, and as you can see, look how small this lens is. Here, let me put it up next to a 28-75 millimeter. Like, they're almost around the same size, and these are both 2.8 lenses made by Tamron. And if you're like, oh, why would I buy these third-party lenses over buying like the Sony GM lenses? First of all, a lot of times these lenses are actually sharper than the GM counterparts that Sony has. And they're pretty much a fraction of the cost. Like a lot of times these lenses cost like either half or like 1/3 the price of the Sony GMs or the Canon or the Nikon lenses, which we're going to take a look at in a minute. And that's why like behind me, you'll see like bunch of, Sony cameras, you'll see a bunch of lenses behind me, but pretty much none of them are like native Sony lenses, honestly. I think I only have like 2 Sony lenses. Like I have this 50 1.8, the Nifty 50, which isn't that great of a lens, and I have the 85mm 1.8 lens, which I don't really like either. But the third-party options for the Sony are quite amazing, and also these are not GM lenses. If you get the Sony GM lenses, those are a lot better. These are just their regular. I don't even know if they're called. I don't know if they have like a special name or anything, but they're just like the regular lenses. These are okay. Like the 85 is like a decently sharp lens. But anyways, I'm gonna be making a whole video and talk about all the Sony lenses I have and which ones I recommend right now. So that's gonna be a future video I'm gonna be working on. But the Tamron lenses are so amazing. So now let's go on the computer and I'm gonna show you guys why you should get the Sony system, mainly because of the price point. Now, one big mistake people make when they're picking which camera to buy is that they just look at what the camera is, what the specs are for the camera, and they make their decision based on that. And that's, in my opinion, is the incorrect way of doing it, because if you're doing either photography or videography, pretty much any camera nowadays is going to be good enough, especially when it comes to the photography. You can even use a camera that's like 10 years old and you can still get, professional looking results with it. But what's going to be very important is going to be the lenses you're going to be using. So it's more important to pick the right lenses for you, and then from those lenses, pick the camera system that you can get those lenses on. So let me show you guys what I mean by that. So first of all, if you're picking your camera, for example, if you want to get into the Sony ecosystem, I would highly recommend something like the Sony a7 IV. This is their brand new camera, and for both photography and videography, this camera is amazing. But it's $2,500, so it's a little pricey, but that's how much it costs, So that's $2,500. If you want to go with Canon, you're probably going to go with something like the Canon R6, which is also $2,500. So there's the same price. So you're like, all right, I pick and choose which camera I want to buy, right? But then you have to choose which lens to buy. So if you're going to be going with zoom lenses, if you want to go with the Canon route, you're going to have to get yourself something like a Canon 24-70mm lens. As you can see, it's $2,400 if you want to get the Canon 24-70 2.8 lens. Now, if you go with the Sony option, which would be Sony 24-70 2.8 GM lens. That's $2,000, so it's a little bit cheaper, you know, so it's not that big of a deal. But the advantage that Sony has is that it has so many great third-party lenses that the Canon and the Nikon bodies do not have. So with Sony, the lens that I use mostly that I would highly recommend, which would be the Tamron 28-75 lens, which is the lens right here. As you can see, the 24-70mm lens. This is my most used lens of all time, pretty much. This is what I shoot most of my stuff with, just because the main thing I do is photograph people. So when I'm doing, you know, full body shots, I go wide as usually 35mm, and then if I want to do a close-up headshot range, I can go all the way up to 75mm. So, you know, obviously this is my favorite lens to use. And as you can see, if you buy the new version, the G2 version, it's $900. Now, if you buy this old version that came out a couple of years ago, and I literally bought this lens when it first came out, it's $700. So it's less than a third of the price of what you would have to pay with Canon. So if you go with the Sony route, it'll be $2,500 plus $700, so you'll be spending $3,200 to pretty much have a full setup that you can do pretty much any type of work with. 24-70 is very flexible, unless if you're doing like sports or wildlife. 24-70 you can use it to, you know, shoot weddings, you can use it to do portraits, you can do landscape, you can do so many different things with the 24-70mm lens. And that's, in my opinion, is probably the most important lens to get, depending on the genre you're shooting. But if you're photographing people, 24-70 is a good lens to start out with. But if you go with the Canon route, you have to spend $2,500 on a camera and then $2,400 on a lens. So you're at $4,900. But that's not just it. Let's say you also want to do headshots or you want to shoot some sports. So you want to get the 70-200 lens with the Canon. If you go with the Sony route, again, you can get yourself a Tamron 70-180mm f2.8 lens. And this is an amazing lens because of, first of all, it's very small, it's very lightweight. Like, people have been praising Canon about their new 70-200mm lens because of how small and lightweight it is. But Sony already has that lens right here. You know, this lens is very small, very lightweight. And the thing that I should mention is that the Canon lenses do have image stabilization on them, but if you buy these newer Sony cameras, they have in-body image stabilization, so honestly, you can get away with not having it. Like, I never had any problems with the images getting, you know, motion blur from my handshake or anything. But again, let's take a look at it. So if you go with Canon routes, you get the Canon RF 70-200mm f2.8, and it's $2,800. We're gonna do that math at the end because I'm not that good with it. I had to put it on the calculator later. But if you go with the Sony route, then you go with the 70-180mm, and it's only $1,200. It's less than half the price of what the Canon is. But then, you know, you're like, you know what, I want to do some, you know, I want to do some landscapes, I want to do some, maybe you want to do some real estate photography, so you need an ultra wide lens. So with the Sony, again, Tamron got your back. Maybe you want to do some vlogging with the camera. Tamron got your back. 17-28mm f2.8. We go with this lens. Let's see how much it costs. Tamron 17-28 2.8 lens. It's $900 if you want to buy this lens used. I mean, if you want to buy this lens new, it's only $900. If you go with Canon, Canon has the RF 15-35 f2.8. And that's $2,400, so it's half the price. So Canon is a little bit wider, so they have it goes to 15. But things that Sony does have a trick up its sleeve, which is Sigma. So if we go with the Sigma 14-24mm f2.8 lens, that is $1,300. So again, we're going cheaper than Canon, and the Canon still goes to 35mm, so it does have that advantage. So it's kind of comparing apples to oranges, but you get the point. So let's do some calculations. So if we go with Sony, we're spending $2,500 for the body alone. For the 28-75mm lens, we're gonna spend $900. If we want to get the 17 to 28 millimeter lens, or this, let's go with Sigma 14 to 24 millimeter, just to make it a little bit more fair, which is $1,300. And then if we want to go with Tamron 70 to 180 millimeters, that's $1,200. So plus $1,200. So it'll be $5,900. So pretty much $6,000. You can have a full set of lenses with the Sony system, and you can pretty much shoot any job you want. That's how much it costs. Now, if we go with Canon, here's how much it costs. So if we go with Canon, we're gonna start at $2,500 again for the camera alone. And then if we add a 24 to 70 millimeter, that's gonna add another $2,400. So we're at $4,900 already. Then we add ourselves a 15 to 35 millimeter lens, and that's gonna add another $2,400. So plus that, and we're at $7,300. Now we want a zoom lens of a 700 and 200 millimeter. That's going to be a $2,800 plus. And now we're at $10,100. So that's a $4,000 difference. And again, these lenses, the Canon lenses might be a little sharper. They might have image stabilization or here and there. But at the end of the day, these are not going to improve your photography. Obviously, the main thing that's going to be, improving your photography is going to be your skills as a photographer or a videographer. It's going to be your lighting. It's going to be your audio and everything. Those things are what's going to really affect how your image looks. But also the lenses you use on the camera make a huge difference, especially if you're shooting in low light or something. Then you're going to need faster lenses. And things that I know so many people that, went out and bought the Canon R5 or the R6 cameras, but then they spent all this money and now they're like, oh wait, I gotta buy a lens, but I have to spend another $2,500 to do it. It's pretty ridiculous. So that's why a lot of times I recommend that people just go with the Sony cameras, because the Sony cameras, they all perform really well, and you have so many great third-party lens options. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully it was useful to you. If you have any questions about any Sony cameras, make sure to let me know in the comments section. I also have affiliate links in the description below if you want to buy any of these cameras or lenses. Make sure to use my link. I get a little bit of a kickback from it, so it helps the channel. And if you're interested in Sony cameras, especially the A7 IV camera that we're recording this with right here, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because that's the main content I'm making right now. But I'm going to be doing other stuff later. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.